Hi everyone, good afternoon and welcome to Stack. My name is Henry Lim, I'm a product manager with the government digital platforms team here in GovTech. And today I'll be sharing with you a little bit on how we are thinking about navigating the content deluge across the whole of government using smart processing and contextual insights. Across the whole of public service, public agencies are really facing unprecedented amounts of data or digital content being collected from documents, data, to multimedia assets across many different channels. Think of yourself from day one. I mean, every day when you wake up, you look at your phone, you look at many digital content devices to gather information that helps you make decisions throughout the day and bring together different channels of information in order to plan for weeks ahead, months ahead, and make the different types of decisions that allow you to carry through your everyday duties. Same with public agencies, as public officers are starting to consume more and more digital data across the board. There really is a need to help them process these overwhelming amounts of content and information. In terms of in terms of content organization, searchability, in order to really render effective use and preservation of this information to help them tackle the challenges of day-to-day duties. As our team engages across multiple government agencies across the board, we also notice there are really diverse content types that are being handled across the whole of government. Of this content, there are multiple archetypes I can see. On the left-hand, here on the left-hand column, in terms of video-based content, one of the key challenges is the fact that they are really large in volume. They take up a lot of space. It's very hard to manage this information, much less shuttle it to and fro, disseminate across multiple teams, and find the content that helps you make your everyday decisions. Of course, often places like, some of the content that comes to mind are things like, that comes to mind offhand straight away, it's like CCTV streams, drone monitoring, this type of moving video information. But over time, you see more and more agencies are also dealing with even online content, social media, things that we actually deal with every day, but we never really think about it as well. But at the same time, in terms of events that public service has to contend with, and in terms of media communications, we're also gathering even longer form events, content in terms of video recordings of events, as well as other happenings that are constantly being streamed across online and offline spaces as well. Looking at the middle of the groups of content, we also see image content. Now, what's the difference? I mean, videos are just tons of images, right? But if you do decompose them into individual frames, you have large volumes of data in terms of numbers. Images are different sort of beasts. Like you are combing through essentially a lot of minute pieces of data that may actually differ from each other as well. There's also no easy way of really getting through all of these amounts of content in order to extract the relevance ones that the things that are relevant to you and perform actions that might be of relevance to make certain decisions. Going beyond images, we also see other related the complex forms of content as well. You can see here, there are departments, there are agencies across the whole government that also deal with even more complex types of content beyond images. Because this may be image related, but you can see geo-images are actually spatial. They carry with it beyond imagery. There's also the idea of space, of locationality, and of course, how does it play into different circumstances and environments. Satellite images also carry of it different types of complexity as well, being large in scale, multi-layered, and carrying with it even more contextual information. But by and large, why do I consider all of these contents? All of these actually not only carry the visual, audio, or basically particular types of different types of physical data associated with the situational awareness itself, but they also carry with metadata that's really of importance, of helping to create decisions, allowing actions to be taken that actually need a common space to exist and common ways to draw these contexts together in order to enable public service officers to perform their day-to-day duties. So, Why is content so important? I touched on it lightly earlier. Because content powers actions. For public service, content in all its forms really is an essential business asset. Why are we not paying more attention to it? It provides information necessary to identify services and service different types of business needs. Ultimately, the flow of content, how we handle that, is really important in extracting the nuances that allows our officers to perform our day-to-day duties. At the same time, content also builds communications, not only internally. You also need to bring content or relevant content together to educate, to inform, and to communicate to your stakeholders, which ultimately is your public, for public agencies, is ultimately your public space as well. When we actually perform this information as well, there's also the need to rationalize and provide context and rationale informing these various the actions that may be taken. All of these actually require content formation, content synthesis, in order to preserve the historical context and data surrounding our day-to-day operational decisions as well. Hence, especially with the past few years, you can see agencies becoming increasingly more digitalized, increasingly gathering more different types of information. There's really increasing amounts of not just structured data, but really what we are contending with is unstructured data in all its forms that agencies are accumulating beyond documents. What we are typically always accustomed to are like mountains of documents that you think public civil servants tend to process every day. But really, if you think about it, as time goes by, there's more and more unstructured, large in size, hard to manage and transfer information that officers really have to deal with. Traditional search methods in this case, like how do you find content that's of relevance to the officers on a day-to-day basis? By performing a simple text search, it doesn't make sense anymore. A lot of the contents exist in bits and bytes in multiple different types of formats. In some cases, as I mentioned earlier on, with complex data types, they may exist in clusters of files that are actually embedded within the same file structure. So all these are really difficult to comb through this metadata to find things that are of relevance to you. And hence, it's really one core difficulty in terms of locating relevant information within the bodies of content that we accumulate. That's really one of the key challenges that public agencies do face. And also increasingly, the case of content use across the whole government is also increases because increasingly complex as well. If you think about it, I mean, some of the teams I worked with here as well, a lot of our public agencies are basically utilize myriad sources of content for policy development and communication. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of policy development comes from stitching together data sources or content drawn from different types of contents. You may actually require gather pedestrian counts or pedestrian trends from image data, video data, or pedestrian crossings. You may require some other sensor information and contents, or or events happening across the neighborhood. Stitch together a full view of what is happening in terms of pedestrian trends in the entire neighborhood in order to police it, to optimize your enforcement decisions, or optimize how do you plan for construction or plan for policy and policy decisions around the area as well. Of course, the next use case is something that we probably are familiar with, the monitoring. The day-to-day operations, many types of contents really provides context. Like I mentioned earlier on, it could be as simple as counting of people. It could be sometimes smoking detection, sometimes rats in particular areas where they shouldn't be. But over time and space, all this is becoming more complex because some of this content is present not only in the physical space but also online space as well. Now we also need to understand what happens on the virtual spaces. Some events may happen without us being present with physical presence on the ground. Perhaps there may be some malfunction of particular facilities in some areas that happen of which the first occurrence only appears on the online space. How do we capture these kind of moments and be able to propagate and disseminate this information? And of course, leading to that, crisis response as well, when large events happen. We have seen natural disasters, maybe not so common in Singapore, but you can see a lot of crisis response or natural disaster nuances tend to unfold in the online space. Bad weather happening, extreme weather events, starting to see a lot of these unfolding on the virtual space as well. And sometimes capturing the events that occur within this space through content analysis basically help us respond to these situations better as well. But across the public service currently, we can see that current ecosystem really is fragmented. A lot of you will be in different public agencies across the board. I believe you may have observed some instances of this as well. Currently, a lot of our content really exists in silos. There's really scattered storage across the board. They're not really integrated. In some cases, there may be beneficial content across different agencies that could be useful for each other. But currently, the effort that's required to cut across these silos is really difficult, or these sections are not really interconnected at all. There's also tend to be effort and cost to access content that may be stored on vendor systems. Sometimes you have to file service requests, you have to get vendors on board to actually retrieve some of this content so that to be made available to yourself in order for you to process it and actually gather some nuances and insights on it. And of course, that leads us to the last problem set as well. There's really the manual effort. In many cases, a lot of the agencies that we deal with actually have to use to take manual effort to actually transfer hard disks or volumes of data across multiple channels in order to gather the data that's necessary to derive insights and of course that leads to a lot of difficulties and resistance, and typically it's really hard to circumvent. There's also really a scattered approach to managing these contents as well. How do you filter? How do you organize all of these contents? Typically, from what you can observe from agencies as we are really still entering this space, you see a lot of this organization exists manually. There's really manual reviewing of media contents. There's manual, there's the monitoring of contents of interest can be really manual and also subjective to subjective context and need for verification. Then there could be commercial tools that exist on the market, and we do know of some. Unfortunately, if you look at the public space right now, I believe the commercial tools are not so widely used yet and require customizations to suit our public service space in terms of IAM compliance and of course security standardization. Public servants may not really be aware of some of these tools and of the really best way to leverage them. And it's really difficult for agencies to move beyond proof of concept into implementing them in everyday operations. What does this lead to? I mean, essentially, a lot of our agencies, in terms of putting together their content, there is really duplication of efforts. Is there a way that we can organize our contents better en masse so that we can actually to really help the transferability on taxonomy so that the content can actually cut across agencies in a more easy and seamless way so that it can benefit more agencies as well. Hence, of all of these issues, we do see there's really a need for advanced processing methodology. With diverse channels of content, the technology these days actually provides us with many opportunities. The ability to extract key themes or topics, objects, attributes, events, actions from different types of contents that really allow us to hopefully more organically and more automatically organize our contents. That provides the first step for public service officers to be able to extract contents of relevance to them and actually perform the next step analysis. Of these, some of the key tools that we can see are things like contextual search, enabling searching using organic free-form text. That's really just based on exact matches, but basically really based on content understanding of the contents, the innards of the contents as well. With that, public officers can more easily search not just for pieces of volumes of content that are of relevance, but really is to enable officers to research within the content, specifically for areas of for segments of content that are really of relevance to what they're doing at the moment. That really enables the retrieval of relevant content to allow officers to be able to take particular actions or decisions. And next, there's now also the technology for content synthesis. After you extract this content, you still need to put them together to take action and to provide communications and stuff. Today's technology also allows us to bring together this content in automated ways and based on particular related terms or concepts that hopefully allows us to be able to synthesize this content and blend our content together more easily as well. That's really then, hands-off for public officers to really take advantage of these technologies. There's also a need for simplicity and automation, specifically the ability to have user-friendly interfaces, automated tagging and categorization, and of course, this needs to drive recipes for workflows that public officers can easily utilize across the board to drive their content processes. Hence, I'm basically, as we work with this content across many agencies across the board, what we want to develop really is a platform mission. By delivering a centralized platform that brings together integrated suites of capabilities, we want to bring together the essential components that can drive a content ecosystem. And of course, as you can see a lot of the products out here on the floor today are actually related into content space as well. If there's a way we can bring all of this together in a coherent and concerted effort to power workflows that allow public agencies to tap on their content more effectively, that will really help the use of content across WoG. So as you can see, like the architecture-wise, of these, we actually see a few key areas. With our team has actually brought together a few template products that actually allows the public agencies to be able to hopefully build more flexible solutions to build use case specific product experiences. On top of platform, we have products like Curator that allows users to manage content intelligently. IDX, basically identify anything, build custom AI approaches to identify elements of interest. There's also trust docs that actually allow the applying of protection to content. So as long as you have content, you want to make sure that you can authenticate, you can also distribute them securely as well. And with all these components, we also hope to enable future use cases that may build on such needs, such as identification of content tampering, theme analysis, and even more. And we hope that public agencies will be able to tap onto these content platforms and to do more and build relevant workflows for all their public agencies as well. As you can see, relevant content tools really can help to streamline work processes. We imagine a suite of ecosystem tools that can really help officers deal with event responses. The officers dealing with particular issues can really more easily search and aggregate together the insights that allows them to take particular actions. And of course, with content synthesis, by blending together the content that are of relevance, they can hopefully build better and more flexible solutions in the long run. With that, I think I end my talk. Thank you, everyone. I hope this gives you new ideas on how to bring together content experience and workflows for all your agencies as well. Thank you.